God, that howl isn't the wind. Up in the frozen forests of the American North, that sound rolls down from a distant ridge, the unmistakable call of the apex predator. A gray wolf is tracing the trail of a cattle herd moving through deep snow, using every narrow slope and every shifting gust of wind to close the distance. But the danger doesn't end there. Down in the open grasslands, where the ground has finally shed its winter ice, all it takes is one sheep straying from its usual path, and a wolf can close in within seconds, launching a lightning-fast attack even in broad daylight. One moment of carelessness, and everything can turn in an instant. Today, we're joining the wolf control team in Idaho, people standing on the front line of a delicate balance. This isn't a casual hunt. It's a mission to protect livestock, safeguard vast stretches of land, and keep the wild from crossing that thin boundary between nature and human life. Come along for the journey. Subscribe to Famigo Farm and follow the adventure with us. Gray wolves are predators built on precision and discipline. They move in small packs, read the land with sharp instinct, and can track a target for hours without losing pace. Their ability to watch, wait, and strike within a single breath has made them one of the most sophisticated hunters in the North American wilderness. But that sophistication comes with clear consequences. Wolves can expand their range faster than many other species, pushing native populations into a defensive position. They put heavy pressure on local ungulates, disrupt seasonal migration routes, and trigger a cascade of changes throughout the ecosystem. And near human settlements, their presence often leads to livestock losses and conflicts that are hard to avoid. Those conflicts are exactly why control efforts must happen at the right time and in the right way. Control isn't about wiping out a predator. It exists to keep the boundary between people and the wild from collapsing, to ensure that ranching areas, working lands, and the surrounding environment don't slip out of a very fragile balance. In that sense, control isn't a fight against nature. It's a way to preserve the boundary that allows everything to coexist. As the threat grew, people realized that emotion alone was no longer enough. You can't wipe out the wolves, but you also can't stand by while they destroy human livelihoods. The only solution is responsible control. States like Montana, Wyoming, and North Dakota have launched regulated hunting programs, strictly overseen by wildlife authorities. Licenses are issued in limited numbers based on local wolf density, and every activity is tracked, reported, and monitored through GPS systems and field officers. The goal isn't eradication, it's to keep nature's order intact, to ease the pressure on farmers while preserving the presence of a top predator within the ecosystem. This is no longer just the hunter's mission, it's a shared strategy of the entire community. Protect the harvest. Protect the people. Maintain the fragile harmony between mankind and the wild.
Got him. So while we're here, we're going to set up a G42 on a moose kill. With any luck, we'll get...
And then comes the moment when all the talk about balance and management turns into action. Out here, a single sign can change everything. In the middle of that silence, the first clue appears. A cold wind sweeps across the thin layer of snow. On the ground, fresh wolf tracks run along the edge of the forest. A clear warning. We stop immediately, check the wind, and scan the area around us. One of us lifts the binoculars, slowly sweeping past the tall pine trunks. Far ahead, through a gap in the tree line, a gray silhouette emerges. The wolf is following the exact path the cattle had just crossed. Without hesitation, we spread out, pick higher ground, keep our distance, and make sure our scent doesn't drift with the wind. The shooter braces against a rock outcrop, settling into position. The long distance, steep terrain, and shifting wind force every movement to be precise. Ahead of us, the wolf pauses and turns its head to test the wind, a decisive moment. The sight picture locks in, breath held tight. A clean flash from the muzzle cuts through the stillness of the snow. No cheering, no excitement. We understand that sometimes a hard choice is necessary to protect the cattle fighting their way through a brutal winter.
All that walking.
The season and the landscape always tell the rest of the story. Wolf season in the American West usually begins when the first waves of cold roll down the Rockies. Cold air sweeps through the valleys, laying a thin coat of snow across the ground and revealing signs that the warmer months rarely show. This is when wolf travel routes begin to surface, forming faint paths hidden beneath winter's white cover. In Idaho, the peak of the season falls deep into winter. When the snow settles thick, every track, every pause, and every change in direction is pressed clearly into the ground, making tracking more accurate and safer. The long stretch of cold days also stabilizes wolf activity, making their movement patterns easier to identify across different areas. Hunting grounds span a wide range of rugged terrain. The ice-covered mountainsides offer long lines of sight, but leave you exposed to the wind. Lower down, the pine forests provide cover, but demand slower, more deliberate movement. Farther out are the narrow valleys where cold air pools, and where wolves often appear early in the winter. The allowed hunting periods vary across regions in the state. Some zones remain open throughout most of winter to meet population control needs. Others allow activity only in specific phases to match the natural shifts from year to year. Each area comes with its own set of dates and hours, reflecting differences in wolf density and the environmental conditions where they roam. And before you follow any track, the preparation has to start here. Before heading deep into the winter forest, everything must be set in place. Cold weather gear, wind meters, and the terrain map marked the day before. Each person checks their equipment one more time, making sure everything works reliably in sub-zero temperatures. The team begins moving slowly along the forest edge. The deep snow forces every step to be deliberate, and the wind pushing through the pine branches helps mask the sound of shifting positions. All communication is done with hand signals to avoid unnecessary noise. When a good vantage point is found, a small flat patch is chosen to set up the observation shelter. A windbreak tarp is stretched quickly between two trees, forming a small but concealed hide against the white landscape. Inside, the spotter positions the binoculars and wind gauge at the shelter's opening, keeping a direct line of sight toward the slope where the wolf tracks were found. Everyone listens closely to the faintest sound filtering through the fabric walls. The wind is strong, snow taps lightly on the roof, yet the forest ahead holds the still, heavy silence of winter. Hidden inside a small shelter in the frozen woods, every movement is kept to a minimum. This is the moment when patience matters more than any piece of gear, when every decision waits for the first signal to emerge from the white expanse in front of us. In this freezing environment, the gear you carry isn't just support, it's survival. It's not only about making an accurate shot, but about keeping the entire team safe with every decision made out here. The 300 Ultra Mag rifle is the choice for situations that demand long-range reach and deep penetration. This high-velocity round holds a very stable trajectory, is less affected by cold crosswinds, and maintains its energy even over long distances across the mountain slopes. Its recoil is heavy, but in the hands of someone experienced, it offers near absolute reliability. Alongside it, A semi-automatic shotgun is used for unexpected close-range encounters. The semi-auto action allows fast follow-up shots, critical when visibility is blocked by thick pine cover or when terrain forces sudden changes in position. This type of firearm performs consistently in cold weather, rarely jams, and is well suited for support when long-range shooting isn't possible. Every firearm is thoroughly checked before heading into the forest. The barrel, safety mechanisms, optics, and all operating components must meet standard and comply with local regulations on firearms and wildlife management. In a harsh environment like this, a weapon isn't just a tool. It's what allows you to stay in control, stay safe, and ensure that every choice you make stays within the limits of what's allowed. As the ice begins to melt in the western flats, signs of another predator start appearing more often along the edge of the grasslands. Small travel lines, short yips, and quick flashes of movement at the tree line, classic signs of the coyote. Unlike gray wolves that operate deep in the snowy forest, coyotes move closer to open ground. They're lighter, faster, and bolder. They often show up alone, barely noticeable at first, but once they get familiar with an area, their presence increases quickly. The arrival of coyotes means risk for small livestock and the outer edges of farms. They don't have the strength of a gray wolf, but their speed and boldness make the damage sudden and harder to predict. And that unpredictability is exactly why control has to be done at the right level and at the right moment. In a brief flicker of movement, its silhouette slips along the grass edge, moving toward a sound it assumes is easy to reach. A shot is taken quickly, clean, short, and necessary to prevent the threat from spreading farther into the lowland areas. Every control measure points toward a single goal, keeping this land in the fragile balance that allows both people and wildlife to coexist.
Got it.
Winter in the American West is always severe. But the hardest part isn't the cold. It's the thin boundary between nature and human safety. After each track followed, after every tense moment in the winter forest, the goal remains the same: to keep this landscape functioning in the balance it needs to survive. Gray wolves and coyotes are both important parts of the ecosystem. But when their behavior crosses the line, the danger reaches the fields below and the ranch lands along the forest's edge. And in those moments, we're the ones who have to make the right call to keep that risk from spreading. Control isn't confrontation. It's the necessary intervention that keeps the natural order from breaking, so people and the wild can exist side by side. Subscribe to Famigo Farm and follow the journeys ahead on the front lines of America's wilderness.